Kicked off here. We've obviously put in a lot of work over the course of the year. Game week number one is here. We have a huge challenge in this first week with the opponent and traveling and going on the road. It is a great challenge for us. Coach Smith has done an unbelievable job building that program and the growth over the years and what he's been able to do there. So we have a huge challenge on our hands. We've put in a tremendous amount of work over the course of the year and through fall camp and been able to make a ton of strides in different areas that we've pinpointed all the way from the beginning of the year. And we have one week of prep left to go here, and we're excited to put that work in and get ourselves ready. We'll take any questions from you guys.
Opening the season at Oregon State, a Power 5 opponent, what kind of opportunity do you guys have to really start the season on the right foot?
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, it's who we're playing. It's how they're coached. It's the personnel. That's where the huge challenge lies. They've done a good job recruiting on both sides of the ball, and they got some really good coaches over there that have been very consistent over the course of the years. And from the offensive standpoint, it's been one of the most productive offenses in college football with their run schemes and the pass game that comes off of the run schemes, and then obviously the multiple formations and personnels that we'll get. We have our hands full. Obviously on the defensive side of the ball for them, Trent Bray is coming in. He finished last year as a defense coordinator, so we have a bit of a preview of as to what they want to do on defense. But I'm sure there's plenty of stuff that they've worked on in the offseason that we have not seen.
Just based on kind of what you saw from last year coming back, that's all you really have to work at, get to see, an exhibition game or something. What do you think their strengths are going to be?
On both sides of the ball? Well, I think definitely up front on their offensive line, year in and year out, they do an unbelievable job coaching those guys up, and especially within the schemes that they've run with the mid-zone schemes. For years, they've been really good at running the mid-zone schemes, and they got a returning quarterback that has a lot of experience, and he's shown to be extremely effective. They've got tight ends that are coming back that present challenges within obviously the pass game with their length, their size, and their speed, and they got a lot of speed at wide receiver. Defensively, they got a secondary that has a lot of length and is very athletic. They've got a front that is shown to play physical.
It's been about a month since you last stood at the lectern and talked about fall camp, so you have a lot of work to do. How much work did you accomplish over the last month? Are you excited where you're at, and how eager are you to see what it all adds up to here?
Yeah, no question. It's been quite some time, huh? It's gone by fast at times for us. Obviously, when you're in the grind of fall camp, you're working to stack up positive days on top of positive days and focusing on the little things that become big things and creating a mentality and a confidence that we're going to be able to build off of. And we're very excited about what we've been able to do in fall camp in all three phases. On the offensive side, we've spoken about things all year that we wanted to in areas we wanted to grow in and really be specific about certain areas, whether it be the run game, the pass game, and not just the routes but the protections and making it all come together. Obviously on defense, we've spent a lot of time working certain things that we want to be a lot better at this year and getting our personnel right to execute those things. And we have a new special teams coordinator, so it's been a fun year of putting that together and putting our personnel in the best positions to help us be the best we can on special teams.
Andy, as you stand here today, how much different of a feeling is it than you stood standing here exactly a year ago today? In terms of your growth, the team's growth, the program's growth?
It's night and day. Mike, it's from the standpoint of where the program is and the mentality and the understanding of what it looks like every single day to prepare and to train so that we can be our best. The players have done a really good job of being consistent with that, obviously throughout the program as well. But overall, just from a personnel standpoint as well, we're very confident about where we're at, the guys that we have, the guys that we're developing, the young players that just came into our program. We're really excited about those guys and even the progress they've made through fall camp that ultimately help us prepare each and every week from a scout team standpoint.
What did DJ Schramm do to win that spot?
You know what? He showed up every single day and is able to lead, to communicate, to help run a defense. And obviously he's been able to execute his responsibility and do his job at a very high level.
What about Rodney Robinson?
Rodney's done a really good job throughout this camp as well. But you know, these are adjustments that started you know, back in really in the summertime, but even coming out of the spring. Some of these things that we've been working on to get guys comfortable again, to put the personnel in the best positions possible that fit what we want to get done.
I see it on paper, but did Taylor Green win the number 2 quarterback job?
Taylor Green will be the number 2 quarterback as it sits right now. He's done, again, a really good job from year number 1 to year number 2, and him being comfortable being in the system for the second year. He's done obviously his knowledge of the offense and being able to operate it. It's not just his assignments, it's running the whole show from the time he gets on the field. A lot of that has to do with his preparation and how that's grown, and he's going to continue to need to make strides in how he prepares so that he can keep growing throughout the season. We all know that the backup quarterback does not get as many reps throughout the course of the year as they do in camp. So what he does in his preparation is going to be huge to continue to grow. Sam did a really good job too. I mean, that thing was neck and neck. We feel really confident about that room and overall where they're all at right now.
Does that cover for Taylor? Does that cover all situations as you're going into the season now, or could it be fluid and maybe Sam could be number 2?
Right now, TG is the backup quarterback.
Your relationship with Jonathan Smith, you guys were here together a couple of years. Is he a guy maybe you've kept in touch with or share some of the same Coach Peterson philosophies? What's your relationship like with Coach
Yeah, I mean, I obviously have the utmost respect for Jonathan. He's done, again, like I said, he's done an unbelievable job building the program there, and the way they play, the way they operate. Obviously, he is, you know, from an offensive standpoint, he has an unbelievable offensive mind, and because of that, you can see the production, you know, that their offense has had here in the last, you know, as long as he's been there. It's always a challenging offense to go against.
We see that Halani and Cobbs are both listed as returners. As a coach, how do you balance wanting to get the ball in your best players' hands and wanting to keep them healthy?
Well, I think at the end of the day, the number one deal is how many times are we going to get touches with our best players when they have the ball, the guys that are the best with the ball in their hands, just like we have with Shaq, just like we have with Avery in the past.
I guess we see Ashton Genty at number 2. Not a huge surprise based on what you guys have said about him. But what did you like about him coming in to earn a backup spot right away? And you don't go beyond 2, but who else do you see contributing there at running back?
Yeah, so I mean, Ashton has been extremely consistent since he stepped foot on campus here. Now, this is, you got to remember, you know, back in January, he's a young man leaving high school early, and he's, you know, it's been a huge learning curve for him. But what he brings to the table is the maturity of his body from a physicality standpoint, a speed standpoint, and at the end of the day, the guy loves to run the football, and he can do multiple things out of the backfield as well. We're really excited about, you know, where he's at. Obviously, there's a lot of growth that needs to continue within his game, and you know, with that, T. Crow's done a nice job as well. Elion has done a really good job coming in here just before fall camp has started, and to, you know, for a room that lacked a little bit of depth starting fall camp, and we really needed some guys to compete and raise their level of play to build that room up. It's really been a good fall camp. Caden Dudley has done a nice job as well, you know, moving from wide receiver and playing some tailback for us. So, you know, we feel good about the depth there and the amount of guys and what they can do.
Seems like Markelle Reed looks like he won the other cornerback job, a very competitive deep field there. What was the difference for him?
You know what, Markelle, you know, obviously coming off of last year, just getting back in rhythm. You know, Mike, it's about getting back on that bike and getting rolling again and just getting reps. And we had a very specific plan for him in the beginning of fall camp of how we were going to build him up. What drills was he going to do? How many reps is he's getting? And we've been on a steady pace, you know, up until this point to get him ready, you know, for obviously week number 1.
You could obviously go 3 or 4 or 5 deep at that position on either side. What is the plan for rotation there?
You know what? I mean, throughout the course of the game, obviously the starters are down right there, but we do feel confident in the other guys that are behind them, and then being able to step in and play, and obviously being able to use guys at different positions as well.
With a guy like George, you know, when we were talking with Tim a month ago, he was talking about, you know, having George on a pitch count at times last year, not having to worry, you know, about that this year. But how much more will he be able to help the offense when you're not having to worry about when and how you have to use him?
Well, I'll say this again. It comes down to the depth of the room as well, right? And the confidence of within the room of being able to put other guys in there and to be able to execute. We all know what the numbers say when George is in the game and when George gets a certain amount of touches, and obviously that's a tremendous help to have George be able to go. We are in a little bit different situation starting off last year going into this first game, and it's really nice to see 24 out there all the time.
What type of confidence have you seen in his game in practice, and where is he at as he approaches the big year?
You know what? I mean, I'll tell you what, George is pretty steady now. I mean, what you see is what you get all the time. And he is, you know, you talk about being a competitor. He's the type of guy that you got to pull back sometimes, which you would want it that way, instead of trying to get a guy going. And so, obviously, he's going to have it, as we all will. We'll have a huge challenge in this first week with, you know, the amount of starters coming back on the defense that we're about to face, and you know, we're excited though about where he's at and the things that he's done throughout this fall camp.
What are the keys to slowing down Chance Nolan?
Well, I mean, as always, it's a game of rhythm, right? So being able to disrupt rhythm and be able to get the offense off the clock, get them off pace. I mean, that's always a huge part of it, and I think that's what's been a big part of the success of this offense is their ability to operate and stay on schedule and move in and out of different formations, different looks, use different personnels. But the quarterback's got to be able to handle that, and obviously Chance has shown that all throughout the end of last season when he became the guy, and you know, obviously that's visible too in the spring film that we're able to see.
Bringing in James First and Reynolds from Australia, and he wins the punting job right away. What did you see from him and that style that he brings? It's obviously new to fans around here, I guess, for a little while. How's that going to help you guys? What do you think?
Yeah, so you know, we talk about it all the time. The hitting yardage within the game is a big deal. You know, it's not something a lot of people focus on, but field position is a huge part of this game, and what that brings with a guy like James is obviously a huge advantage and a huge plus to our overall team. And obviously with his skill set and some of the things he can do, I mean, it brings a lot of energy to the team too, knowing that we have a guy that can punt the ball the way he does.
Getting back to what Brader was responding to one of his questions about, you know, we talked about the foundation of this thing quite a bit during the off season. What over the last month has kind of given you the confidence that everything is right where you want it to be? Is it you know, comes to the blueprint, foundation, DNA, whatever it is?
It is definitely the way the guys prepare, the relentlessness that they've practiced with, the physicality that they've practiced with consistently, the competition at practice, what it means to compete each and every day within each and every period of practice, whether it's a group period, one-on-ones, whether it's a team period, the different situations, the knowledge within the different situations that we've seen throughout camp and that we've presented the team with. And obviously the preparation that goes into being able to do that, whether that's the work we've done in the summertime in the weight room and how we train, and not only how we train, but the amount of discipline that we created while we were training, because it goes hand in hand. You know, obviously the mental controls the physical.
You mentioned the weight room plenty the last couple of months. I know you brought Reed Kagi over from Oregon. What impact has he made, and what makes him special in terms of the strength and performance coach?
Well, I think like we just spoke about, it's not only the physical development, it's the mental development that goes with it. We've made a huge emphasis on the attention to detail, no matter what space we're in this building. So whether we're lifting, whether we're training, how we do things is everything. And the competition of which we put into every space in this building, whether it be the weight room, the meeting rooms, or obviously on the practice field, has helped us raise the level of urgency you know, every single day, and the guys know what it is. The coaches know what it is. Every day we come here, there's a certain level of urgency that is expected, so that we can compete at the level that we want to.
After, you know, being a head coach in year one and being on the sidelines, do you go back in the off season and did you adjust any of your philosophies or how you manage a game from the sidelines as a head coach?
We'll have to see.
I know it's just 1 out of 12 games, but is there something special about the first game and just how it kind of sets the tone for the season, maybe?
I think the special thing about the first game is you get to play somebody else. We've done a lot of work against each other over the course of the year, and the excitement of that. Obviously, having a huge challenge like we do, you know, in the first week on the road, puts a lot into it as well. But at the end of the day, it is still always about us. It is about the detail of which we prepare and which we train, and we finally get to play a game. So there's been a lot of work put in throughout the course of the year, and I think that's the excitement of it.
I know you didn't schedule this game, but do you like this way where instead of having like an easy bye game in week 1, do you guys typically here play a big game in week 1 and right out of the gate you got to be at your best? I mean, do you like that?
Yeah, I mean, we got to be at our best every single week here, every single week, week in and week out. Again, it is about us and us being at our best, whether that be in summertime training, fall camp. It's very consistent.
Where is Hank different mentally and physically right now?
Obviously, there's a lot of experience, just like any of us coming out of year number 1 together as a program and within our operation, whether it be off the field or on the field. It's the experience that he's gained, and experience is learning from the past and applying to the future of what we've learned. And we've spoken a lot about the things that we pinpointed where we wanted to grow, whether it's from a mental or a physical standpoint of his role on the team, and he's done a really good job, and he's had some really good performances this fall camp. And the biggest thing to note is even when there were times of lulls, how he pulled and got the offense back on track, which was awesome to see. And that's going to be a big part of the season. It's a long season, 1 game at a time, and everything is not always going to go perfect, but it's about how we respond and get ourselves back on track. And that's where we want to continue to see improvement, and we've seen a lot of improvement there.
From your perspective, what are the expectations for a 4th-year starting quarterback?
You know, the leadership standpoint, right, of what we're talking about. It's now we understand how we need to lead ourselves, and this is a game of not being perfect. He's not going to be perfect. I'm not going to be perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect. But it's now about using the experiences and how do we respond in situations where we know we need to adjust, where we need to be better. And obviously, like we spoke about, the leadership standpoint. How does he bring the guys along with him and put confidence into those guys just like a coach would?
From the beginning of camp until now, is there one position group that you think maybe has improved the most?
Well, that's a tough one because we've seen a lot of growth, you know, across the board. And again, we're not just talking about offense and defense. We're talking about special teams too. And so really liked what the wide receiver group has come together, you know, with Hank and the tight ends and the different things that they're doing there. Overall, just from last year to this year, the course of the year, the O-line has done a tremendous job growing. And so we're really excited about that from that standpoint. Obviously, having more depth on the defensive front as well, you know, and being able to develop guys, and even the guys that are returning or the guys that came into our program where we were at in springtime, you know, with even guys like Scott, you know, to new guys that came in the program like George, you know, and Cortez and Herb Gums. Herb Gums looks nothing what he looked like last year, and he's got to continue to keep growing, you know, as we move forward day by day. But the overall growth altogether, I mean, we can talk about position group by position group, you know, all day, and we're not exactly where we want to be yet, but we're at a really, really good spot.
Is Isaiah Bania back at edge?
Yeah, he's back at playing edge, and his experience of getting some inside linebacker work in certain situations is going to pay forward in other packages when we do other things.
With a guy like Devin Wright, we've heard that he's had a pretty good fall camp. How is he? He's still pretty young. How's he coming along?
He is, and he's developed a ton. You know, here's another guy that we were talking about that was new here in the spring, right? And from what he looked like in the springtime to where he's at right now, and the role he'll be able to play and contribute to this team. We're excited about where he is to start the season. And of course, this is a long season. You know, if you think about a guy like Isaiah and where he was last season to start the year as an edge player and where he finished and what he looked like, the growth he even had over the course of the years, the same track that obviously we would hope not only for Dev, but for everybody in general.
In terms of skill set and stuff, kick returner versus punt returner, what's the difference in terms of what you're looking for there? And why would maybe a guy like George's skill set, why do you have a punt returner instead of say kick
I think the biggest thing when it comes to those two is being able to field the punts. That's a different deal, right? That's a different skill set than fielding a kickoff. And that is, I think any team, any year, that is always, that's a skill set in its own right there.
Where have you noticed Tim Plow, year 1 to year 2, in his growth as a coach?
Yeah, no question, and not only with Coach Plow, but with all the coaches on our staff. But obviously, he is going into his second year here. The thing that I love the most is the vision he has for our offense and the way he's organized our offense, and the confidence that is within our offensive players and our offensive staff right now. In our scrimmages, I've been really pleased with the in-game adjustments that have been made within our scrimmages and the different looks that the defense, gave our offenses going into certain scrimmages, and how we've adjusted and how we've used, the offense that we've put into place to create opportunities for ourselves within game.
You don't have a ton of underclassmen on the depth chart, but Latrell Caples is one of them. Why is he ready to obviously make a big jump this year?
It's awesome to see Trell out there. He's done a tremendous. We didn't get to see a lot of him in the springtime, right? But he's an extremely explosive player, and let me tell you, he's made some really nice catches throughout this fall camp, and has been very consistent with his play and what he is doing. So it's going to be awesome. I'll tell you what, Trell is a guy that is dear to my heart, just from the standpoint of when we got here last year and his growth overall, in development overall as a person, and how he handles his process of preparing, and how he comes here every single day. I mean, it's been awesome to see his growth, and I'm really excited to see him over the course of this year get his opportunities to continue to grow and obviously have an impact.
Is there an example of something he did during that time that really made you grow fond of him?
You know what? I think just the way he's, you go to college, and obviously we're in the world of college football, so a lot of times all we get to see is what these guys do on the field, and the catches or the runs or the blocks or the tackles or the interceptions and those things. But just from the standpoint, and there's plenty of other guys too, but just Latrell's overall growth, as a young man, and how he has, and how that has obviously helped him in football. The growth off the field typically helps guys grow on the field. And so we're excited to see him just continue to grow, and not only, obviously how he's impacted himself, but how he's impacting others around him, how he's able to communicate, how he's able to lead and bring guys with him.
With Dirk Cutter and Ron Collins, what are the rules? Do they get to travel, and are they in the box or on the field, or are they back here watching on TV? Or?
Yep, all of the above.
I kind of say this jokingly, but if you hit the snooze button even once, are you beating George Charles at the football facility?
We usually show up here about the same time. We see each other in there a lot in the mornings. We're both working on certain things, getting our bodies right and getting ready to go for the day. But yes, he is here very consistently.
Have you talked to him about meditation? I mean, you talked to him for 11 minutes, and hardly any of it was actually about football. How impressive is it how far he's going to check a bunch of other boxes?
Yeah, I mean, there's another example of a young man that came into our program earlier this year, and again, we're going to see the type of player he is on the field, but the amount of growth. And here's the biggest thing, whether it be Latrell or George, the biggest growth is because they've opened up to wanting to grow. They've opened up to the things that, we're working to build into this program, and that we talk about within that foundation. And it's not just about football, it's about who we are and how we're all growing. And George has done a tremendous job coming into this thing with an open mind and a unbelievable care factor of, I want to be here, I'm grateful for being here, and a willingness to learn, even though he's an older player. And that's why, George has been able to do things, whether it's how he handles his body maintenance, you know, at 6 a.m. every single morning, at 5:45 every single morning, or how he gets his mind right. You know, it's pretty impressive to see that a guy has that willingness to learn and grow.
When you're taking somebody for 1 year, grad transfer, what do you look for? I mean, is there something that may be different than somebody that would be transferring with, have, say, 3 years left?
Well, much like we're talking about right now, guys got to have the capability to learn pretty fast. So, yeah, we can't always just fall in love with a certain skill set. We've got to figure out, how does this individual learn? How is this individual going to immerse himself into the environment that we have here? Is he going to buy in? Is he going to spend the extra time to study and learn what it is that we're doing here and how we're doing it here? And those are all critical factors when you only get a guy for 1 season.
With your offensive line, I feel like we could have kind of taken this starting five, you know, at the beginning of this thing, despite the fact there was competition there. What are you most excited, or what excites you most about that group?
You know what? Just how they've worked together, and their passion for what we're doing right now on offense. The certain things we're doing within the run game, and obviously in protecting the quarterbacks. And they take great pride in what they do. It's going to be obviously a game by game, 1 day at a time process as we work through this season. But the biggest thing that we want to be able to see is for them to keep their urgency in how they prepare every single day, because we know what it is to play offensive line and defensive line. There's no hiding on a play, whether it's at practice or in a game. It's a physicality, it's a physical nature every single play. And they've improved their mindset along with their confidence. And obviously we'll have a huge challenge this week with all the, you know, the returning guys that Oregon State has on their defensive front.
There's a new appeals process for second half targeting calls.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you've maybe talked to other coaches about this in the offseason, but in your opinion, how consistent and accurate have those calls been across the board, and how much more comfort does it give you knowing that you can appeal that call?
Yeah, I mean, the appeals process, and I think if you go through and study the data that shows on the plays that get reviewed, very few of them get overturned. So the appeals process is put in place for different reasons. But the calls that have been made on the field, the statistics show that they don't get overturned very much. But there is the opportunity to always appeal going forward.
And it's the opportunity to play Pac-12 team. I mean, you guys have history with the Pac-12. Geographically, there's a lot of relevance. There's realignment and everything going on right now. What does it mean for this program to get a shot at a Pac-12 team?
You know what, to have the opportunity to play in general is just, that's the focus right now. And I'll tell you like this, like we have a huge challenge in front of us with specifically the team that we're playing. And I'll be honest with you, we don't go a lot into the conference of which this particular team is in or anything like that, because we're so focused on what they do and their personnel and who they are. We got, you know, that's enough to keep us busy with that. And, you know, we're lucky. The benefit of it is that we have a bonus week, and obviously we have this week to continue our preparation, which we'll obviously need.
Is Sam Vidlak a resource you might consider for intel on Oregon State, considering he's been with that program and the staff has pretty much stayed the same?
Right, yeah. So, I mean, obviously having players, not only Sam that was in that program, but, you know, having guys that have played against that team, you know, this team on our roster, all those things, the familiarity that they bring and the understanding or the experience they have is a resource.
Last question.